Welcome back to Access Anime. I'm Henshin Ikeda, and today we're going to be reviewing Jormungand. Now, the other day I did a review called Jormungand Intro and Random Outbursts. So if you haven't seen that yet, I'd recommend seeing that before you see this review, just so you know where we're at. So, let me get started. I have to say, I love this series right now. It's 12 episodes long, and this is only Season 1. Season 2 hasn't been made yet. I put links down below, so if you want to check the links down below, you can see the next season. It's called Jormungand Perfect Order, and it's 12 episodes long. Now, this is where we left off. The main character is called Jonah in the series, but he's not really the main character. We're focused right now on the arms trade group, and it's run by Coco. Now, a little history about the group right now. Coco, she's a young arms dealer, also a member of the HCLI, a European African Weapons Transportation Division. Stay with me now. Stay with me here. It's going to be a long process of where everyone's at. But here are all the members of her group. She makes the 10th member of the group, but she has 9 subordinates. Now, these are the names of all the subordinates of her group that I found out so far. And I was right about my hypothesis. We do get to know a little bit about each different character that's in her group. Now, underneath Coco is Velmet, or as I'd like to call her, V. She's a former Finnish military officer, and Finnish means Finland, so she's from Finland, and her last rank she held was Major. Now underneath V is Tojo, a Japanese former intelligence officer. Underneath Tojo is Jonah, and we already know Jonah. He's a former child soldier. Not much really background-wise of which country he came from. Liam, which is also one of my favorite characters, he's a former Delta Force officer. Not sure in what country, but it should be obvious. It's probably the US. Underneath Liam, we have R. Now, I don't like R right now because I will get to that later why I don't like him, but let me tell you who R is. R is a CIA mole recruited by George Black to infiltrate the squad underneath Coco. We don't know what country he's from, but we can assume he's a US citizen. That is what we can assume since he's part of the CIA. But we don't really know much of his background. That's still left in the dark for the next season. Now, Hugo, he's the only one in the group that is from the Italian Mafia. And he was a driver, formerly a driver for the Mafia. But we don't know which Mafia family, but he is from Italy, and he is from an Italian Mafia family. So he's the only member of the squad that actually has a dark background, since he's on the opposite tracks. Now after Hugo we have Lutz. Now Lutz is a former police sniper, so now we've got a law enforcement guy that's part of the group, but we don't know what country he's from either. Now underneath Lutz we have Mao. Mao is a former artillery officer from an unnamed Asian country. A lot of fill in the blanks here on where everyone's from, but I'm doing my best to find out what I can. Wiley, aka Wile E. Coyote, that's where he got his name from. His name's Wiley. It's short for William. He's the former United States Army officer. Again, not a lot of background, but at least we know he's a U.S. Army officer. Now that pretty much makes up all of Coco's squad, and this is what gets interesting. This series, I have to say, there are so many factions. It's not hard to keep up, but I'm just saying it's a lot to take in all at once, because you have the CIA, which has a girl by the name of Chocardo. If I pronounced that wrong, I'm sorry. And her boss is called Scarecrow. And it's interesting because this CIA group, they're after the arms dealers and whatever else they can find. They're in the game to take money from the arms dealers. And somehow Coco gets Scarecrow somewhat underneath her thumb. But more or less, she's friends with Scarecrow's secretary, which is Chocardo, which is a blonde, and she's really nice, to be honest. She is nice. But besides the CIA, we have another group called the CCAT, a small British corporation, which is very known to Coco. They're kind of like a rival arms group, but they're pretty close, so it's kind of nice to have them. Another group is called the Balkan Dragons. It's a militia based in an anonymous region called the X of the Republic of T. That really doesn't make sense to me because I know that doesn't really exist. But I guess I don't really know what country that is. I would assume it's somewhere in Africa, because that's where one of the episodes kind of starts and ends. And it was founded by Dragon Nikolfovich, which is a he's like a small antagonist in the series for like 1 episode's worth. He's not a guy you really like, but he gets his dues later on in the episode. He gets payback hits him pretty bad. Another group is called, let me think, what are they called? Orchestra, I think is what they're called. Yeah, they're called Orchestra. And Orchestra, they're an international team of assassins. The last surviving member is Ashisho and Chansu. Again, I butcher those names, so I apologize. Out of the group, only Shishi dies, and Chinatsu is a female. I guess she was abducted into this group. Is the only surviving member. Her partner was taken out by Coco's group. By, I believe it was Liam took him out sniper-wise. But Shishio's partner Chinsu ends up getting away. So this is something to look forward to in the next season, since she's still part of Orchestra, or at least to my knowledge, she's still part of it. But we don't know where she's at. Now that pretty much sets the stage for all the groups that are there. There's just a couple groups. I know I missed a couple other ones, but you have the Mafia as well included in this little group of factions. But this is what Coco's group is being put up against. Now this is what I was able to find throughout the series of this short 12 episodes. The main character technically isn't Jonah. It's Coco. It's like kind of a shared partnership of who's the main character. Because Jonah doesn't have a lot of background in this series right now. It's more on a focus of doing missions. All these missions are with Coco's, how she sells her product. Like, she's part of the arms dealers, so she's got to sell stuff, steal stuff, and then she's got all these assassination attempts against her, so it's a lot to deal with. And I have to say, I love this series. It's an eye-open, you know, it's like you're waking up for the first time, and it's like a breath, I don't know what to say, I don't know, it's uplifting to watch it. But a little about Jonah right now is what we do know. We now know who, spoiler alert before I say this, spoiler alert, Casper, which is Coco's, I guess, older brother, he was the one, his name's Casper, he was the one that, I have to read this verbatim of what I found out, he's responsible for recruiting Jonah to serve as Coco's bodyguard. And Casper ends up telling Jonah, like 3 months prior to joining Coco, becoming her bodyguard, he was the one that sold weapons to the enemies of Jonah's village. So Casper actually was responsible for the death of Jonah's parents. And Jonah, every time he sees Casper, wants to kill him. But I guess Coco really doesn't care, because she just hates her brother the same way. But they're family, so I don't know how that works out. But they're close. They work for the same company, but you know, they're miles apart. And what we find out about Coco and Casper, small little tip, little thing I found out. They don't belong to any country. They were actually adrift in the sea. That was their childhood, I guess. Like, we know a little bit about their childhood. They're not affiliated with any country, but they have all these passports. So that's why she's able to go from country to country and has all these connections. She's not really affiliated with any country, so she can't really, I guess, be prosecuted in some aspect. I'm not sure how her business works, but she has it made out pretty well. Throughout the series, this is 12 episodes, again, short episodes. We do a lot of missions, cargoes. She gets screwed over a couple times, but when you think she's getting screwed over, when you think Coco's getting screwed over, she's not. She always has everything properly planned out, and she just goes about it so messed up. I don't know how to explain it. A lot of episodes, it's about missions. Others, we have 1 or 2 close to the end. You have V has a little episode of herself. We get to find out V's background and why she joined the group. It was kind of interesting, but I just have to point out, it is a lot like Ghost in the Shell, but from a bad, like, in the villain's perspective. You're now the villain. You're no longer working for like a country, you know, and yet you have all these connections. So it's interesting. Again, I did give this a 5 out of 5 for the first 12 episodes. I'm looking forward to the next season, though, and it is being made as we speak. Again, I put all the links down below. You definitely have to check it out. There's not really much I can say else about the whole series that I just finished, other than final thoughts. We are left with R. Like I told you, R also is part of Coco's squad. At the end of the last episode, you see R in a church with a guy named George Black, and this is a random church. And Mr. Black is the chief of the European division of the CIA National Clandestine Service. So he's a U.S. citizen who's a chief of some random CIA branch. Apparently, R is a mole for the CIA. So that's another turning point that we don't know. We're gonna have to watch and see how that plays out next season. That's interesting. Also, Karen Lowe. She was part of V in general. She was part of V's past, because Karen Lowe's boss was the one that actually took out V's eye. That's what we actually find out. But right now, Karen Lowe is no longer in the hospital, because they had a confrontation one-on-one, V versus Karen. I would say it wasn't a stalemate. V technically won only because she had Jonah with her. So she won in some aspect. She got closure. The man who took her squad out, he's gone. Paybacks, she's got a clean slate now. But Karen Lowe, I don't know exactly what's happening with her. She shot V in the back, and then Jonah shot Karen Lowe. And oddly enough, they're both in the same hospital right next to each other, and Karen Lowe ends up vanishing out of nowhere, and then V's just stuck in the hospital. And then you see a small little thing with Coco and them talking about the bills. It's like, well, now you're the terrorist because you're robbing me. But yeah, so that's another character we can look forward to seeing. So Karen Lowe, I'm hopefully we get to see more of Karen Lowe in the next season's worth, as well as R. Also, one of the members of Orchestra, that little faction I told you about, her name was Chococardo. Her name is spelled Chokorado. Hard to pronounce, to be honest. She looks like a 16-year-old, and she doesn't wear underwear. It's hilarious of why. Again, you have to watch the series to find out. There are a lot of good moments. Even you get to see her group on a vacation at the beach, and you get to see V in a bikini. And again, I have to say, V is no longer my second favorite. She's my favorite. Coco gets kicked down to second place, and then I guess I'll say Karen Lowe is my third place character. I'm going with all girls right now, and then Jonah's fourth place. But V, she's got the moves, she's got the blades. She reminds you of a character from Ghost in the Shell. I'll just say that she does remind you of a certain character from Ghost in the Shell. But she's got the moves, the bodies, the attitude, everything. I mean, you'd assume this would be about Jonah, but the series really doesn't revolve around him. It's about the group in general. Toward the end of the series, there was an assassination attempt on Coco, which you have to see. I'm not going to describe it here, but you definitely have to watch it, because it's not what you think. Second to the last episode of the series, episode 11, leaves you wondering, is this it for one of the characters of the squad? And then at the next episode, you get to see it played out. But it gives you a lot of questions you want to ask, but you have to wait until next season. But again, I gave this a 5 out of 5, so I was amazed. I'm sorry, I have to say it, I was amazed. Well, that pretty much ends it for the review, because I've already put my final thoughts in. I've already given you my rating, so watch it. Comment down below, thumbs up, thumbs down. Subscribe, definitely subscribe. Check my Twitter out. I'll leave all that information down below, and subscribe above. Okay? Whoa, what else? Oh, I'll be probably doing Zombie Loan later on tomorrow. I keep saying that, but I'm going to start it. Later on today, I'll be doing Campione. I'm going to check Sword Art Online, see if the new episode's out for that. And One Piece. Fairy Tail as well. I don't think One Piece is out just yet, but I'll check. But Fairy Tail as well. So we're looking at 3 reviews today, and maybe another one tomorrow. Okay, guys. Well, that ends it for today's review and segment. So before I leave, can't stop the access, but you can watch the feed. I'll see you later, guys.